Right.
That is in February month. The dates are the 4th to the 6th of February, and it's a whole production that's going to roll out in terms of what we call fashion tourism. So it's a project where we're actually going to be showcasing the local creative sector, and also be bringing in regional and international designers and models as well for the event. I mean, I want to say a big plug today or this morning, being on the media here, to your representative, Grenadian-born Ariana Francis, who's doing exceedingly well on the international market as a runway model. And she's being picked up by a lot of major fashion labels, and the buzz is around. So she also has interest in terms of being back for this project, as well as some international fashion designers out of Paris and Italy, and some of the region as well. So this is a big event that is going to be taking place. It's a brand that actually was in Trinidad and Tobago for the last 10 years, and this is, as executive producer, we are now actually moving it through the island. So Grenada is our first stop.
Right. So you said we. Put in context exactly who's the we.
We have a production house. The production house is Something Out of Fashion Week Trinidad and Tobago, and the production house underneath that is Simply Smooth Production. So there's a committee team that is really much heading that. I've been on the island for a few months, back and forth in terms of looking at the best skill set to put together a committee on the island to produce the event here, and our entity sits as the executive producer of the event. And we've put together a very good committee that came together on the 22nd of September. And you'll get a little bit more about their role and function as time goes on for the event. We also will be having a national casting, and the casting procedure is that casting started officially from yesterday. But you really only casting via online. So you're sending your application via your photo, your age, and contact information via the official email, which is grenadafashionweekend@gmail.com.
Right.
And you can find us on Facebook as well as Twitter and Instagram. So all the social media is there in terms of that. That's for the models, males and females.
You made a reference to the whole that of fashion tourism.
That's correct.
And of course, but looking at, is it something you made reference to a local Grenadian, of course, that has caught on the
She's
the
just
eyes
one.
world,
There's actually more than one actually doing it.
That has caught on to the eyes world, the world of the eyes of the world. Is that something, as it relates to fashion, is that something that a young person can say to themselves, boy, that's a career path that I can take, that can sustain, that has a sustainable livelihood to it?
All right, so let me answer you two ways. I mean, maybe 10, 15 years ago, that may be a little more challenging. Every single career has its challenges to it. But when you look at when you look at the revenue a country needs to run itself, and then you look at a sector just as the creative sector that earns billions of dollars in Europe and other places, in terms of it is pretty much sometimes more than 50% of the GDP. If you would understand what I'm saying in terms of revenue, in terms of and handling all the expenditure that a country would need every year when they pass a budget, you would understand that the creative sector in the region is an untapped resource, and sometimes we are a bit taboo and not recognizing the human resource and the creativity that naturally comes from here. I mean, the world recognizes and they capitalize on it, and I don't understand why it is that we don't feel a little more patriotic about what we do as a Caribbean region.
Why do you think that is so, though?
I think we are a bit laid back. I think because it's natural to us, our creativity is natural to us, so we treat it like it's second nature. To the rest of the world, sometimes it's more difficult to find so many creative people all in one place. And they don't realize creativity sometimes is gelled into a business. And this is why I said with fashion tourism, it's more of a opportunity to not only sell Grenada as we have done in the past in terms of the whole nutmeg aspect, which that was the module before, and then you've done it in terms of your tourism, but then every island has sun, sea, and sand. So what
sets us apart?
Exactly. So as the evolution in terms of time goes and the world is getting smaller between social internet and media, and young people are taking more control in terms of being more in control of things and how everything is moving as businesses, more attracting to them, you have to actually look at your human resource. And part of your human resource is a tremendous amount of creativity. And how can you harness that? And how do you connect the business community to latch into that, to say, listen, I would like to partner, I'd like to be part of this, because that's what really takes what you do as a business into the next level, because you have to keep current and be existing.
You made a reference, you spoke about the casted for the event, of course, which you indicated is going to be for February of next year.
That's correct.
Same week in the run our Independence Time.
Right.
Right. The casting, what are you looking for? Because traditionally, I mean, you've seen traditionally when it comes to fashion, you talk about initially, my other part, you're talking about the catwalk. Why the catwalk though?
We use the word catwalk, but I mean, I use the word runway.
Okay, runway.
Yeah,
Right.
runway. Yes.
So traditionally, there when you talk about the runway or the catwalk, a special something comes flashes you.
Yeah.
Coca-Cola bottle.
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z dimensions.
Yeah.
But slowly we recognize it that is changing.
It is changing, and I think what we have to understand, we have to the Caribbean community has to start to move together. Where we are weak in some areas, we have to depend on the strength of others, and we have to move together as a Caribbean unit. I think what is happening is, in terms of, because the world has now recognized that in order there is an untapped market in terms of the entire Caribbean region. I mean, we're more than 7 million people in the Caribbean region.
Right.
And the definition, the shape of women in the Caribbean and people in the Caribbean is very different. And then you have, if you speak to the aspect of obesity, you speak to the aspect of fast food, penetrating most of our regional markets in terms of healthcare and stuff. So the demand for clothing changes in terms of shape, structure, and style. Right. And that also is a market. So you are looking at the business of fashion. You can't look at the European model and say, listen, this is what exactly going to work. But in terms of the marketing, the packaging of what you use as a brand, of course, hitting the runway, there will be some requirements in order to take the brand of Grenada Fashion Weekend to a level that people can recognize of something very important and something very good moving forward. And from there, you work in terms of you tweaking it to be representing the Caribbean people, but it also will have global appeal.
So you're based in Trinidad. You've made Grenada as your first stop in what is a series of events that you have. Why Grenada? The people may ask, why Grenada?
Because on the calendar of fashion weekends and events, Grenada is not on the calendar. Okay. And that's, you have Barbados has BB Fashion Weekend, Trinidad has their own, Tobago has their own, St. Kitts has their own, St. Lucia has their own, Antigua has their own.
So you stretch your tentacles.
Understand what I'm saying? The difference is that we have a brand that is working, and my thing is that in order to reach the world, we must be able to move together. So it's important for us to understand that we are neighbors, we are brothers and sisters between each other, and we need to bring ourselves together and work together. And if the creativity of young people is here on the island, and in terms of they needing that kind of platform, then this is the platform for them. And at the end of the day, it only would benefit the business sector as well as the economy, because as much as they have an avenue in terms of promoting and pushing their business, and I would like to say this is just not a fashion show. I cringe when I hear people call the word it's a fashion show. It's a fashion weekend. The terminology, the work that goes into a fashion weekend is a lot more. In terms of pre-production, planning the event, post-event, and the business of fashion, getting the designers to sell and creating garments that are competitive, not only in your market, but also internationally.
You said you've actually been here for a few months.
Back and forth,
right? Scouting, interacting. What's the feel like you get when you, in terms of making that assessment that, okay, we want to use Grenada as a hub. Yes, we stretching our tentacles as an organization. There are a few individuals. There's a few local fashion organizations.
Yes.
But holistically, when you look at fashion as an industry, what's your assessment of what you see in terms of the raw talent, the opportunities, and put that in perspective in terms of looking ahead, the true opportunities and potentials that is available right here at home, specifically in Grenada?
Well, I see, I go back to the same statement I just made in terms of the best way you would sell your island and sell your creative sector is through fashion tourism.
Right.
Because the difference between Antigua that has 365 beaches, what is different about Grenada? And this is something that they need to discover about themselves. I realize that in terms of all the aspects of how Grenada has sold itself to the world and everywhere, because I'm very much well-traveled, the creative part of it is not as invested in or vested in as much. And sometimes you find that a tremendous amount of great talent here on the island actually diverts into a different type of career, not necessarily that they want to, but it's for survival reason. But when you have people here who have such creative talent and the ability to take something globally and compete on an international scale, and not having the opportunities to create the platform for investment and to get them out there, then this is our avenue to get it done. I commend the people who have actually tried before. I understand the challenges that they have had, because I've been here for more than a decade in terms of back and forth in Grenada, so it's like my second home.
Okay.
So I do understand. I've been here as invited as a designer because I also run my own label. So I do understand the challenges with it. However, I think that the time is now. I think that because even from the model stock that you have coming up, they are making out this. The world is looking at them. They're making waves. I mean, Kiana is making waves in terms of sport. So you understand that that's that part. So instead of just having that one shot hit on the international market, why not create that support structure that will have a lot more coming through and getting that kind of regional and international exposure? And then I'm sure somehow your let's say your government sector will be able to get involved and say, listen, this is maybe a sector that I can invest in because there's a tremendous amount of untapped resource here.
Yeah, that of untapped resources. How do we promote Grenada to the world? Fashion tourism. That's what we had. It's all intended to unfold. Next year, February.
Few months,
a
really.
few months from now. Of course, it's going to be a fashion weekend, and of course, Grenada to the world. Certainly, as time progresses, you will get the opportunity, of course, that we can talk more about the event and talk of some of the specifics as we get closer to it.
I look forward to that.
It's 3 minutes on to the hour of 8 o'clock. We take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we continue. We put the wrap on Good Morning Grenada right here in Classic 105.5 and 105.9. Great. Ooh.